Good afternoon, I'm Vashan Brown with the Midday News. Special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. The issue of corruption in Jamaica is again being brought to the fore, with the National Integrity Action (NIA) questioning the justice system's track record of bringing corrupt individuals before the courts. The local corruption watchdog says the failure to investigate and prosecute, especially corrupt public officials, may be the main factor in influencing the country's poor ranking on the Corruption Perception Index over the years. TVJ's Herman Green has that story.
In 2017, Jamaica ranked 68 of 180 countries on the Corruption Perception Index. Executive Director of the National Integrity Action (NIA), Professor Trevor Monroe, argues that this bad rating may be directly linked to Jamaica's corruption conviction rate compared to the rest of the world. He says while other jurisdictions seem to hold corrupt public officials accountable, that does not appear to be the case in Jamaica.
A couple months ago, former Prime Minister of Italy, Berlusconi, prison. A couple of weeks ago, the former President of France, Sarkozy, charged for corruption. In the United States, during Obama's presidency, 7 members of Congress investigated, tried, convicted, sent to prison. Jamaica, 27 years, nothing has happened.
While no convictions by itself could mean no corruption, Professor Monroe says that's not the case. He believes that in addition to the perception locally and overseas, there are indicators that support the belief that there is corruption, especially among politicians.
Our national security policy, again, official document, tells us that our political system is compromised by links to organized crime. What that means, simple, is that politicians mix up with organized crime, but 27 years is since the last time we have convicted anybody in the political system.
Since its establishment in 2011, the NIA says it has been trying to combat corruption in Jamaica on a non-partisan basis. Professor Monroe says despite this dismal track record, the organization is continuing its efforts.
This effort has to deal with conviction. When there is wrong and the wrong is found, they must be brought before the courts, tried and convicted. And so that's a major outstanding task in terms of the way forward.
Professor Monroe was speaking at the Sam Sharp Teachers College Annual Research Day ceremony this week. Herman Green, TVJ News.
Head of the St. Ann Police, Senior Superintendent Michael Smith, says the force will be relentless in the fight against crime in the parish, particularly murders. TVJ's Shamela Mitchell reports.
Despite St. Ann recording one of the lowest crime figures last year, law enforcers are still not pleased. It is why the head of police for the parish, Senior Superintendent Michael Smith, has been working on a new plan with his team. SSP Smith says for this year, the target is to reduce crime by 50%.
The projection of the members of the division, we are saying that for the entire year 2018, we are not going to pass 30, and that is too much.
A realistic target for SSP Smith, as when the murder figure for this year is compared to the corresponding period last year, it is 1 fewer. He views this as a good sign.
At the end of June last year, the parish experienced 60 murders. Currently, last year this time, we were at 18. Today, we're at 12. And why we're at 12 is because one person who got hit last year died this year.
SSP Smith is warning business people and community members not to adopt the mentality of shielding criminals. He's calling for them to assist the police in meeting their target.
And we are committed to the task. Just help us with our resources. Give us the information necessary, work with us for the children to go to school, ensure that the predal thieves are out of this place, ensure that you work with us to enjoy the benefits of your properties.
Shamela Mitchell, TVJ News.
And we're still in St. Anne. Plans are in place for the town of Ocherius to get a new market. Mayor of St. Anne's Bay and councillor for the Ocherius division, Michael Belnavis, says the design for the new market is already in place. According to Mr. Belnavis, the current market is not conducive, and so there is a great need for the tourist resort area to have a proper market.
Along with the Urban Development Corporation, to incorporate an amalgamation of the transportation sector and the existing market. And we're referring to the food market now. The Minister of Tourism has said gastronomy is something that he wants to see, whereby tourists can come to the market and experience our fruits, our vegetables, and the food, the flavor of Jamaica. That is when it becomes a reality soon.
2 persons directly impacted by the Windrush generation saga in the United Kingdom are speaking out this afternoon. They are children of Caribbean parents who relocated to the UK before 1971 but were recently classified as illegal immigrants. The British Prime Minister has since apologized for her government's treatment of Windrush generation, but there is concern that finding a resolution may be difficult, as TVJ's O'Shane Masters now reports.
Former BBC journalist Mike Jarvis has expressed concern about the status of persons from the Windrush generation who have already been deported. He argues that despite the deportation of some persons from the Windrush generation, the UK government has stated that they do not have any record of those deportations.
And in terms of getting the documentation together, their documents were all there. The arrival documents were all there. There's a call now for a parliamentary inquiry. Why was the decision made and executed to destroy these very important historical documents?
He said he is disappointed in the actions of the UK government, insisting that there has to be some political responsibility.
And this is a responsibility that has to fall clearly on the shoulders of the Labour Party, then in government at that time, which made the decision to tighten the rules, and also the Conservative Party, which then came and executed what they met without reviewing it. And as I said before, it is now emerging that particularly Mrs. May, as Home Secretary, was warned about it.
He said that it is unfair for these people who have been in the UK legally to be made illegal by the government.
What is also emerging is some people are suggesting the glee that some elements within the civil service, within the Home Office, went about literally pursuing particularly the Commonwealth Caribbean migrants who were here up to a point legally. Remember, they were here legally.
The Windrush generation are persons who went to the United Kingdom at the invitation of the government of the day to answer a severe labor shortage. The Empire Windrush ship brought the first wave of Caribbean migrants to Britain in 1948. Despite arriving legally into the country as citizens of British colonies, many, along with their children, did not receive proper papers from the British authorities. Now, with the 1971 Immigration Act, some were listed as undocumented, imprisoned, or deported. Papers that could have helped them were reportedly destroyed despite warnings by bureaucrats. Prime Minister Andrew Holness, who is currently in the United Kingdom holding talks to address the matter, has urged the UK government to ensure that the Caribbean migrants currently detained as illegal immigrants are released and that those deported are afforded the necessary assistance in having their cases urgently reviewed and their rights restored. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
The employment of unqualified persons in infirmaries across the island based on political connections will no longer be tolerated. That's the word from Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie.
Some of who is working in the system can't be a part of the system any longer because they have brought disgrace and shame on the system. Some of them exploit those who are destitute. They treat them as if they don't exist. And when I speak in Parliament, I'm going to be saying a lot more on it.
Mr. McKenzie says going forward, persons in the country's infirmaries will have to be appraised based on the work which they do and not on alliances.
I'm putting out a warning today that no politics, no mayor can protect you in your job if you're not performing. Because a lot of the political, a lot of those who are working in our infirmaries, some of them are administering medication and they can't read and write.
In the meantime, Mr. McKenzie has announced that $38 million would be added to the previously allocated $40 million to fund the construction of a new ward at the St. James Infirmary. Are hammering out the details of a planned summit between U.S. President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. It's still early, but with several factors still pending, there are plenty of chances for the meeting to fall through. More from the CNN.
President Trump, playing the role of the ultimate deal maker, seems to be hedging his bets on a potential summit with Kim Jong-un. On one hand, the president says he hopes the meeting will be a great success. But on 2 occasions this week, he's implied the summit may not happen at all.
Maybe we won't even have a meeting at all, depending on what's going in. If I think that it's a meeting that is not going to be fruitful, we're not going to go.
Is he leaving himself an out to not have this summit at all?
He is, but more importantly, he's trying to boost his own negotiating position in the run-up to this summit. He wants the North Koreans to know they have to deliver on the key promises of denuclearization, and they also have to deliver in terms of the return of the Americans who are currently imprisoned in North Korea.
But the president is also hedging in another way.
If the meeting, when I'm there, is not fruitful, I will respectfully leave the meeting.
How would the impulsive young dictator respond if the president walked out on him?
The North Koreans may go back to more testing, but if they had no intention of giving up the nuclear weapons, this is the path we're going to be on anyway.
Another key sticking point tonight, where to hold this historic meeting. U.S. and other officials familiar with the matter tell CNN possible locations have been narrowed down to a few cities in Asia or Europe. The most likely, according to observers, Singapore, cities in Vietnam or Thailand, the Mongolian capital Ulaanbaatar, possibly Stockholm, Sweden, or Geneva, Switzerland.
And time now for sports. A host of local and international stars are set to grace the National Stadium for the 3rd staging of the JN Racers Grand Prix in just under 2 months. The launch for the 2018 staging took place at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel in New Kingston on Thursday.
2012 Olympic champion and world 110-meter hurdles record holder Aries Merritt, along with 2016 Olympic 400 meters champion Shauna Miller-Weber of the Bahamas, headline the list of international stars confirmed so far for this year's JN Racers Grand Prix, set for Saturday, June 9 at the National Stadium. The overseas contingent will also include reigning world 100 meters champion Tori Bowie of the United States. The local cast will be led by former world 100 meters champion Johan Blake and recently crowned Commonwealth Games 400 meters hurdles gold medalist Janine Russell. Also listed on the men's side are the experienced Hatsa Parchment, Kemar Bailey Cole, Julian Fort and Demish Gay. Commonwealth Games shot put champion and runner-up at the World Indoor Championships Daniel Thomas Dodd, along with Reston Anna Tracy, Khalees Spencer, Sharika Jackson and Natoya Gould are also down to compete. President of the Racers Track Club and chairman of the organizing committee Glenn Mills says there's no shortage of requests from high-quality international athletes.
The only thing that handicap us is the budget, because the bigger the athlete is the bigger the appearance fee. So we, based on the requests that we have had from all across the world, we have no problem in getting athletes. As a matter of fact, we I think the total number of athletes is 120, and we have requests for over 200, and we're talking about 50 of 90% of them are either world champions, Olympic champion, or record holders, but you have to stay within the budget.
Mills also added that there's no rush to seek Diamond League status for the next meet.
Before you can get a Diamond League, you have to have a certain amount of money as guarantee that you can provide as a promoter. And it's a significant amount. Also, the Diamond League is a set amount. So it's an even number. And so if they were to increase it, they'd have to increase it by 2 to maintain that status. But I don't see, we don't have the facility for Diamond League at the moment.
Meanwhile, Ewan Blake, who will contest the men's 100 meters at the Racers Grand Prix, is looking to quickly rebound from his disappointment at the Commonwealth Games, where he could only manage bronze in the short sprint.
It didn't work out the way I planned it to. I know I'm in great shape, so I'm not worried. You know, I just have to go back to the drawing board and correct what I did wrong in the finals, and I will be ready for the Racers Grand Prix.
Meanwhile, Sports Minister Olivia Babs-Grange expects the meet to maintain its prestige despite the absence of retired legendary sprinter Usain Bolt.
And that's the midday. Vashon Brown. Don't forget to join us at 7 for Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a good afternoon and have a great weekend.